Hi, and welcome to another episode of Making Things. Today, we're talking felt.
Right.
Now, this is SAE felt, and I had a bit of a hard time getting my hands on it. Not because it's particularly rare, it's just, I guess it's not really common with hobbyists or home users. So, most of the sites you're going to find are suppliers, so you're going to be looking at large quantities. And you can get it from McMaster-Carr, but you have to know what you're looking for already, and especially if you're in Canada like me, shipping is not going to be cheap. And actually, buying SAE felt is not going to be cheap regardless of where you're buying it, because either you'll be getting a large sheet from a supplier, which is going to cost you, $80 with shipping, or you'll be buying, two small squares from McMaster, and you'll be paying $80 with shipping. You'll notice I kept the labels on there, not just because it indicates to me what I'm looking at, but when I get good service, I get good service, and I don't mind mentioning it. So thanks to the Sutherland Felt Company, they were really helpful in picking out the right product for me. And their minimum order is $100 for relatively large sheets, though. So I guess I'm going to have to start making felt wipers for the hobbyist community now, because I have a lifetime supply of felt. But hey, it is what it is. Just briefly, the first things you need to know about SAE felt, the F rating, F1 through to whatever, we're going to be sticking in the sub 10 range. The odd numbers and the even numbers that follow each other actually are very similar. It'll just be a slightly lower grade. So F1 and F3 have the same uses, but you'll get F3 when you're not quite as strict. The tolerances can be a little bit wonkier. So no, it'd be like getting a 100 ohm resistor with a gold or a silver band. So the uneven numbers is just a slightly lower grade, but we're still talking about something that is just a billion times better than what you'd buy, at the craft store or whatever. I didn't know felt could be this texture. I mean, this is really a cool material. The reason I have 3 is because F1/3 and 6/7 are used for oil wicks, which I need for the carriage, where I had those little holes. I'll be inserting this in the video, I guess. And the reason I couldn't pick is because this is for oil wicks that are not compressed, and this is when they are going to be compressed. So the smaller the number, the denser it is. The problem is, again, this is an industry type material, so they assume when they say that it's going to be compressed that you know what that means. But I mean, really, what is compressed? Does it mean that it has to just be placed on there and that's it? Just it can be covered but barely touching? Or does it mean that it has to be compressed by at least 10% of its volume? Or is it a PSI rating? There's no clear-cut rule on it, so I'm going to be doing a bit of trial and error. And I have a feeling that the F1, the F3 in this case, would be fine for the channels as long as the pieces are small enough. But if I go with F7, the advantage is, since I'm cutting from a square into a rope, by the way, you can get this in a rope format, but since I'll be cutting it myself into a little, I guess octagonal shaft that I'm going to be putting in a round hole, if I make it slightly oversized, I can compress it to put it in there. The F5, somewhere in between, is recommended for sweeps, which I am replacing on the ends of my carriage. I did destroy one of these, but it was identical, thankfully, because these two are not identical. Normally these are cut with presses, so I haven't figured out how I'm going to cut it exactly yet. I feel like a laser cutter would be amazing right now, but I do not have one of those yet. That is still in the works. So I'm going to have to settle with cutting it myself. Anyways, I hope this little bit of information was helpful to you. I know I wish I'd had a little, 3-minute brief on this instead of doing hours and hours of research trying to figure out what's what. But that's all there is to it, really. It's not that complicated. So, time to build.
I did find that using the scraper and pressing down was actually the easiest way. It didn't pull on the threads as much as the tip of the utility knife, and actually the crunching feeling and sound it makes is pretty satisfying.
Alright, so installing the little wipers was pretty simple. Now I just need to fill these holes here with felt, and all that does is it prevents the oil from going down to the other parts too fast so that it has time to spread in the channel.
Well, that's it, folks. I hope this was helpful to you. Next up, I'll be filling this up with oil, and I'll start leveling the bed in a half-assed way like I do everything, so join me for that. If you don't have the tools to level the ways for your bed, I'll be doing it with only a micrometer and a long bar, so see you soon.